Welcome to Leadership in Black and White with John Siebling and Wayne Francis. This is a podcast dedicated to developing you as a Christian leader. My name is Parker, and today we're joined by NBA coach Taylor Jenkins. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Leadership in Black and White. Special episode today because we are recording live from our Make Room whiteboard sessions. Let's hear from our live audience tonight.
Yes.
Let's go.
Wow. That's good.
Live crowd, hot crowd. And we are super honored to be joined by our friend, NBA coach Taylor Jenkins. Taylor, we can clap for that.
Yes.
Taylor was the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies for 6 seasons. He's actually the winningest coach in Grizzlies franchise history.
Wow. Let's go.
A couple interesting things. He was 34 years old when hired, one of the youngest coaches ever in the history of the NBA, and he led the Grizzlies to multiple playoff appearances. In 2022, they tied the franchise record for the best win-loss record in a season, 56-26. They were the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. He's also a great leader and a man of God, a part of our church, so we're excited to have him today. Please welcome one more time Taylor Jenkins to the podcast.
Let's go.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, Coach, this is not your usual format right here, right?
I'm expecting to get grilled, I can tell you that.
You're used to that, though.
I'm used to that.
You're used to some intense press conferences. It's just such an honor for us to have you. We've been working on this for a few years. And it hasn't worked out until now. You have some free time now, so you can join us. But every year I've been trying to get Coach to come because he's got such a great mind for leadership. Obviously, if you're going to lead an NBA, you're going to be an NBA coach and lead an NBA franchise, you're going to have some great understanding of leadership, conflict resolution, criticism, dealing with loss, all the different things that we will get into today. But what's great about today for us is that you're also a man of faith, and you're a man of God, and the way you lead your family, and your humility, and your commitment to church, and your commitment to the house of God. I know we're going to talk about that at some point in here, but we've all been impressed with how faithful you are to church. We can see this. We could see the schedule at times that you obviously would have landed at 2 to 3 in the morning, and then yet you're here on Sunday morning in church and even serving. And I think it's kind of an indictment to some other people, to be honest. To be honest, one of the busiest guys in the city, and yet you make the house of God a priority. So we just thought it'd be so much fun, and really this is for us. These guys are just an add-on. We've been wanting to do this, and so what a great opportunity to do that. Thank you for being a part.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. I'm humbled. As you said, this has been a few years in the making, and this is God's plan. It's God's timing. I'm on God's timeline. So to be able to be here, and thank you, pun intended, thanks for making room for me, for Make Room.
Good job, Coach.
Which is awesome. So as soon as the invitation came through, I knew this was a no-brainer to come. And obviously Revival Nights was so special. Bring my wife and my son, and now to dive in and have some great conversation. I'm going to learn from you guys just as much as maybe I have something to offer as well.
Beautiful.
Well, tell us a little bit about your family. You just brought up your family and stuff like that, and you are a family guy. I'm just listening to you talk. Tell us a little bit about your family, how long you've been married, how old your kid is, all that.
Awesome. I'm blessed. I say it all the time. I don't say it lightheartedly. I'm blessed to be married to my best friend, my soulmate. When I met her back in 2009, I was trying to figure out what, dating was going to be like for me. And I literally put it all into God's hands. I said, God, you got a plan for me. I'm not going to force anything. Next thing I know, 2 weeks later, I meet the love of my life.
Wow.
In the most random of places, too. So I've been blessed to be in San Antonio on the dance floor. I always share that.
I had to get that.
He was trying to avoid that, I think.
That's why I went after it. I was like, where is it?
Hey, I bring that up all the time. I'm glad you pro'd me into that. But God put us on the dance floor at the same time. And next thing you know, here we are, sitting. We're 12 years married. Wow. Blessed. We've gone through ups and downs, but she is, a rock to me for sure. The greatest teammate I could have in life. We're blessed to have 4 kids. Before she and I got married, she had 2 boys. I came into their lives when they were 12 and 9. They're 29 and 26 now.
Wow.
And then she and I together have an 11-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. And it is the absolute greatest blessing, in the world for me to have life that God's given me, but to bring special people into my life. I was raised by amazing parents, support system around me.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Dallas.
Oh,
Grew up in Dallas, went to high school there, ended up going to college in Philadelphia. And after I graduated, I started my NBA career in San Antonio and have bounced around San Antonio, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Memphis, and my family's been with me every step of the way.
Were you just doing assistant coaching in those?
Yeah, when I was in San Antonio,
So you didn't play ball? You didn't play ball in
I didn't
college?
I didn't play college basketball.
Wow.
I didn't coach college basketball. I didn't manage. I wasn't a student manager or one of the video guys.
You just you shot straight to the top.
I got very lucky. Timing was everything. I fell in love with, coaching because I wanted to teach. Like, school was so important to me. Growing up, I loved my teachers. I loved my coaches. I go off to college not knowing what I'm going to do. I'm finding myself. I'm trying different things, political science, psychology, management. And I had this kind of aha moment sitting down with my family talking about what my passions were. I loved sports. I had this management business degree, and my aunt was the one that said, why don't you try to be a GM in sports? It's like, wow. Connections definitely got me, the first opportunity with the Spurs. But deep down inside, even when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to coach. I wanted to be an advisor. I wanted to guide, people. And then, I get the opportunity in the NBA. I'm on the front office side, and even after a year, there was just this stirring in me that, I want to coach. If there's an opportunity to go do what I'm passionate about, let me go for it.
So the GM thing is not really necessarily a passion.
No, being in the pro sports world is for sure. Being a part of a team is a passion of mine for sure. My family is my number one team.
Sure.
Yeah.
So being in the team environment, was something that, when I was even a young kid, youth sports, student clubs, whatever it was, I just loved being a part of teams. And the unique thing is, even though I didn't coach, play, manage in college, a few buddies of and I started a basketball league with inner city kids out in West Philadelphia. It was 9 to 13-year-old boys and girls. It is the absolute highlight of my college career. Great education, great college experience, but the opportunity to go out and, help impact lives through basketball really resonated with me. So when I got that opportunity to jump into coaching 2 years after, graduating college, took off from there, like you said, and people gave me great opportunities. I made the most of it. I put my head down. I tried to act like I didn't know anything, like I needed to learn everything. But the opportunity to teach and compete, and be a part of a team was just something I wanted to live my life by. And it's gotten me to this beautiful point. I've worked with great players, great coaches, and obviously with this year off, I'm excited to really pour into my family. And because who knows what God's got planned. The day I got fired, I literally was like, this is God's plan. So I had no remorse, I had no regret, I had no hard feelings. And
it's kind of part of it.
Predictable, right?
It's part of it.
It's part of
it's
that.
Inevitable.
It's part of that life, right? I mean, I have friends played in the NFL. I have friends who have fathers who were coaches in NFL.
It's part of it.
Not for long is it, what they basically call it. Like you are moving around.
Sure. You got to live in the present moment. You just like in life, you don't know what the next day is going to hold for you. You know what great opportunity or challenge is ahead of you.
Well, I just got to say, the day that you got fired, I sent you a text pretty immediately, and the response that you sent back to me was extraordinary, and just your gratitude for the Grizzlies and for the opportunity. And it didn't feel like an AI response. It didn't feel like a
ChatGPT.
None of that.
It was not a ChatGPT
No,
response. It was genuine. It was sincere, and it was obvious when I read that text why you have had the opportunities that you have had. Your humility, your grace, your gratitude, and so I think it'd be cool to kind of hear just a quick synopsis of how you got hired at the Grizzlies, and got to be a head coach. That's a pretty big jump.
Well, I appreciate what you said. I am full of gratitude. The first thing I said, I think to you, Wayne, was I'm blessed. And I know why I'm blessed. It's because of, our Lord. And it took me a while, right? I'm young, I'm growing, all that stuff. I'm experiencing the world, but soon enough, I pretty realized every day I wake up and every day I go to sleep, whatever happened in that day is because of Him.
Right.
And He's going to prepare me for whatever comes next. So, unique pathway, as I kind of mentioned, but, I coached in the NBA, 5 years in the minor leagues. I was 4 years as an assistant, 1 as a head coach. Went to Atlanta, was an assistant for 5 years, and then just 1 year in Milwaukee. And I vividly remember this, when I got the phone call from the Grizzlies, I was sitting in my bed in a Toronto hotel. We were in between games 3 and 4 of the Eastern Conference
You stayed
Finals.
in a few hotels, I'm sure.
Stayed in a few hotels, flying on a lot of planes, a lot of bus rides. And I'm sitting there grinding on my laptop, getting ready for Game 4 against the Raptors. They went on to win the championship that year. We're up 2-1 in the series, and I'm working on game plans. How are we going to stop this guy? How are we going to be better? How do I get the edit ready? My phone rings, and my agent calls and says, "You ready to interview to be a head coach?" It was the furthest thing from my mind.
Wow.
It wasn't part of my plan. It wasn't like, on this date, this year, I've got to be here, I got to be there. I was just so focused in the moment. Whatever I can do now is going to prepare me for the future. And it was a fast process. I mean, as soon as our season ended, I was that same day, the day that we had our exit meetings, I was on a plane flying to Memphis to interview. I interviewed a couple times in the Eastern Conference Finals, on the phone, and one time in Milwaukee, but that's when it really picked up. So it was full steam ahead, and I give a lot of credit to the teams I've been a part of. Yes, of course, I want to be like, hey, I had a lot to do with this. I didn't. This was God's plan. He put me where I was supposed to be, not having, the coaching or playing background in college, but he gave me the opportunity in San Antonio.
Right.
He opened a door in Atlanta, and when you're moving your family, I bet many of y'all have gone through that as well, you don't know what that's going to look like. Where your kid's going to go to school, how's my wife going to handle adjusting, who's going to be our friends network, this, that, and the other.
Sure.
But we traveled together because we knew this was God's plan. And even though we were in Milwaukee for 10 months, next thing you know, a great opportunity presents itself to come and hopefully make an impact here. And I know we did a lot of great things, won a lot of games and playoffs, this, that, and the other, but to me, it's the relationships, not just the team, the staff and coaches I worked with, but really the people of this community have been so embracing of me and my family. And that's what really matters. Wherever you go in life, it's the lives that you get impacted by, but also you can impact.
So good.
Yeah.
We're about to get into some gritty questions.
Okay.
Some of the good
This
stuff.
is where the spotlight really
It's going to go
comes
dark,
here.
spotlight on you. It's okay. You're not going to feel interrogated. I am serving as the chaplain for the NBA team that you know of, the
Yes.
Nets, Brooklyn Nets. Actually, you met your wife on the dance floor, but I didn't meet you on a basketball floor, but I saw you.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm not going to go over. You were very, very focused and everything. I'd like to know, as I continue to serve
You didn't want to
this
go over and
team-
say, hey, we go to the same church.
we go to the same church. Praise the Lord. How are you, Coach Jenkins?
I would have invited that very much so, honestly. Probably needed it in that moment.
But what would you give me as advice in helping to shape the spirituality of team members?
Talk about what that's like, though, when you show up at a game, you have a 15-minute chapel before the game.
Yeah,
with
for both teams.
Either team, any player can go from either team,
or
right?
coaching staff can come in. You're in the room. They're very focused. They show up on time. They're very quiet and they're very direct. And you just have to come with some inspiration.
You got to preach the best 15-minute message you
Best
got.
15-minute message you have every single week. Sometimes 3 times in a week. So it feels more like church 3 times a week. But what would you give me as advice to continue to help?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to lean into something that even I think applies to all of us. Being a man of faith, a leader in faith, how are you going to share that, with others that are on different timelines, right? We were talking about that, a little bit earlier. The 3 things that always stood out to me as a coach, as a leader, as a teacher is how do you care for people? How are you authentic? And how are you consistent? You can never dictate what the schedule is going to be. It's going to be 2 home games a week. It's a 2-week road trip, and you're not going to see them. But every opportunity that there is to impact someone's life, are you going to be there?
Yep.
How authentic are you going to be? And you're not going to be wishy-washy and change your tune, this and that. You have to meet people where they're at. But that's that care factor.
Yeah.
That's really getting to understand someone. Where are they at in their journey? And how can I pull them along a little bit more? What questions do they have?
Yep.
How can I not be forcing, especially as a coach, I've got a standard, that we're trying to, abide by as a team and, how we're going to play, on offense or practice, whatever it is. But we got to kind of build that together. I got to understand everyone's got a different learning, I wouldn't call it necessarily a curve, but just how they embrace, how they grab things, what kind of learners they are.
Yep.
So that's what I'd say. Number 1, show your care.
Yep.
Show that you really are there for them.
Yep.
You're open to receive wherever they're at. You're authentic.
Yep.
You have a story to share, and they have a story to share. And that's the uniqueness about it as a coach is, as much as I want to teach these guys and coach them, and we got to do this, that, and the other, and we're a team, we're all individuals.
Right.
We all have a backstory. We all have a future story as well. And then just being consistent. Whenever you have the opportunity, you're there. And, I even had to learn that along my coaching career. I was just trying to learn the X's and O's early on.
Yeah.
But then really at the end of the day, to impact change and have sustainable success. All these things that we talk about, as coaches and teams, it really comes down to the interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always leaned into. And hopefully I've learned, and if I get another opportunity, I'm going to try to lean into it even more.
Good advice. Thank you.
As John mentioned that, church obviously has been a priority for you. What do you think, is there anything that you could say about the Life Church in particular, or even Pastor John, that made you feel like I'm going to get planted here? I think there's a lot of pastors here today that would love to attract high capacity leaders into their church. Is there anything about the Life Church that was stuck out?
Yeah, for me and my wife, when we and our kids, we moved here in 2019. Our heads were spinning.
Yeah.
We had never lived in this city. We're trying to figure out where we're going to live, where our kids are going to go to school, where the grocery store is. All the normal things. Just day-to-day life. And then I give all the credit to my wife. She was the one searching. She went online and she found this place initially because it was very similar to the places that we'd gone to in Milwaukee and Atlanta and in San Antonio. But really, when I think about coming into this place and early on, how welcoming it is, how friendly it is. Like, this is a family atmosphere. And then the other day you spoke at the service about, there's the worship and the word. And when you come in to hear the word, there's a little selfish, kind of ambition there. I'm coming in to receive something for me, maybe for my life.
Yeah.
But worship really gravitated us here and it really pulled us in because we're here to honor, right? That first, half hour, whatever it is, all the songs, it's to worship and give everything to Him.
Wow.
And it's not about you. That really stuck out with me. But I felt that the first moment that we came here.
So you remember that part of the message, Coach?
I remember.
You were listening.
I've taken notes. I take a lot of mental notes and try to take it out into my day-to-day life. But when we walked into these doors, you feel the welcoming, atmosphere. Everyone's greeting you. I mean, there's a purpose behind that. It's not just for show. It's like we really want to engage people. We want them to have an authentic encounter, right?
Yep.
And then to have worship be the first thing. I mean, we're standing up, my heart's beating, there's a message being spoken to me there, and we're here glorifying, and I'm just going, this is where we're supposed to be. I mean, I cried the first time we came here with some of the music that was, being played, and then obviously the word. I've got a lot to learn. I'm still pursuing God. I'm still pursuing a better relationship, with Jesus. If I'm going to be about that, I need to learn, and you speak from the word. And a phrase that I think you use a lot, and also your team uses a lot, we're trying to speak this into your life, right? We're trying to speak this. I'm just a vessel, right?
Yeah.
You said even a couple services ago, this isn't about me. And that's what I try to do as a coach. It's not about me. I'm trying to do something for you. And, take that, back into your lives, whatever struggles you're having, whatever opportunities and challenges you're facing. And then, to me, I think there's such a unity in this group, how many pastors there are, how many team members there are, how many different, opportunities there are at this church. I mean, we have kids, so kids' life was very important to us. But you see how connected your team is, and you shout out your team all the time. They get opportunities to lead and you lead, from the word. The worship team is changing who's singing the song today. It's just a team effort. And when you talk about building a community, it takes a team, and someone's got to take the lead for sure. And Pastor John and Leslie, but then the rest of the team, they grow within that and they become stars. So that hopefully that was a pretty good answer. A lot of stuff, but that's the stuff that in a 7-year-ish journey being here in Memphis that we've really noticed, and that's why it's become home to us.
It's funny because somebody was telling us a story the other day of, like, you were serving in Kids Life and they had this little dinky basketball goal in the corner and you were rebounding for the kids and you were passing the ball back to these 8-year-olds, and they were taking shots and you were giving them some encouragement, and somebody was standing in the back thinking, these kids have no idea.
They didn't know it was actually put them through a drill.
This NBA coach,
putting through a drill.
This NBA coach is teaching them how to shoot some baskets.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the adversity that you face. Obviously, there's a lot of ups and downs in the NBA season. I just have a few that stick out over your tenure. One that I think everybody would be familiar with, you took over in 2019. 2020 was right around the corner. The 2020 season was your first full season as an NBA head coach.
Wow.
So they stopped the season. I don't know if everybody remembers this, but March, they suspend the NBA season. They stop all the games. A few months later, they're putting together a bubble. They're bringing everybody down to Orlando to have the rest of the season in an enclosed space where nobody can get in and nobody can get out. I'd love to hear what that environment was like.
That's crazy.
What was the team dynamics like? How did you guys navigate that? Family, players, coaches?
Yeah, it was quite the social experiment, I can tell you that. But it worked out. Everyone was protected. The season went on. But what's interesting enough is the time before the bubble started. I think the season shut down early March, right? And then we didn't get back up and running until I think late July, early August. So everyone's kind of sequestered. Everyone's isolated.
Yeah.
And, the advent of, Zoom technology. Now I'm using that because of COVID. I wasn't using it beforehand. But, how am I going to connect back with church? That was a part of it too. But with our team, I had to strike this balance of not being overbearing. I mean, there's no games in sight. There's no practice in sight. So am I going to be running drills on a Zoom session and whiteboard? But my coaches had to calm me down a little bit. It's my first season. We're not even done with our first voyage together. But what I really leaned into was one, just connecting with people. Who knows what everyone was going through. My wife and I, we finally made a decision where you're like, man, we need to connect with these players. Let's put a basketball hoop up in our driveway. We didn't have a basketball hoop in our driveway.
So this was before you went to the bubble?
Before we went to the bubble, because a lot of gyms were closed, disinfecting things and all that. And, are we going to run into another person at the gym? And our guys needed an outlet, because we were sequestered in our homes a lot. And basketball for our guys was an outlet, It's a passion of theirs. So we were just trying to get creative in how we could connect people, our own friends groups, doing things socially responsible. But with our team, it was, how are we going to have just frequent check-ins? So we did, team sessions on Zoom. We had fun games. We just, chopped it up. And sometimes it was like, we're not even talking basketball. We're just here to say we're together. And who knows what the future holds. But when it did, we knew we had touch points. And then for me personally, it was picking up the phone and just calling someone. Even if it was late at night, I would send them a text, hey, you up for a quick call? What's going on? How you been handling this? What shows have you been binging? What's on your mind? What are you thinking about the season? So it was kind of like work-life conversations. And then going to the bubble, after we got tested for the millionth time and got cleared to actually interact with each other. Oh my gosh.
Did your family go?
No, our family didn't go. Wow. So, I have pictures that come along our skylight frame I remember that was the day that I left and said goodbye to my wife and kids. And we got on the plane. We were gone for 42-ish days. And again, it fails in comparison to what other people in their lives go through. But, I missed that touch point with my family, but so I had to lean into my team, my coaching staff, our players, and creating, I love creating life experiences. Even though we were sequestered on a Disney resort, we had opportunities to go eat meals together and get in the ballroom and play games. We, go to the pool together. Obviously, we had practice time and we had our games, and we got to go on the golf course one day, and then it rained on us, and I was like, oh gosh, I needed that. We needed that. So I was always thinking about just, I talked about relationships earlier. It's like, this was such a unique experience, and I said it all the time. There is no script to get through this. And I think there's a lot of it. There's no script to get through life.
No, it's true.
I think there's one script, which we talk about, it's the word. Let's not forget that, of course. But the things that you face in your day to day, and how you're going through stuff, being away from your family, or you're having to prepare for the last 8 games of the season, get ready for the playoffs. And we're trying to prove ourselves as a young and up and coming team. There was no script.
What was the motivation of the team during the bubble?
It was pretty motivated.
They were.
Yeah, they were pretty motivated.
They weren't like, we got to get out of here.
No, our guys, they were hungry to get back to basketball. Right, it had been taken away from them so long. We were young and hungry for sure.
That's we got good. At least you weren't having to try to motivate.
No. Probably, as we got into it in the first 2 weeks of being away from your family, because that's the typical road trip, it started kind of sinking a little bit. So we had to lean a little bit more about how we, we're here, we can't go anywhere. Let's make the most of this opportunity. And, we had sessions one-on-one with guys, and it was great because it's not just about me. It was about my staff connecting with the players. Like, everyone had different levels of relationships to, hey, I need you to go lean into someone. I know it seems like they're struggling, or go just check in on how they're doing with their family.
It's a great
their dog back
This is a great
home,
correlation to church. This is a great correlation to team and keeping people connected. And,
So, we had a great run there, and then, then when we left, it was back to the uniqueness of, we can't interact.
Who won that year? Was that?
That was the Lakers.
That was LeBron.
Lakers, Lakers, Miami.
Yeah. So let me ask you a game question. A lot of people are not going to care about this, but I'm going to ask one.
This is your personal question?
Yeah, personal
question.
All right. So this is another moment of adversity. So in 2022, you guys are in the playoffs. You're in a series against Minnesota. Great series. You end up winning the series. But in game 3, so game 1 and 2, you split. At home. You're the higher seed. You're the favorite. You go to game 3 in Minnesota. I'm sure it's an intense environment. In this game, these guys get down in the third quarter by 25 points. There's under 3 minutes left in the third quarter. So there's 15 minutes left in the whole game. They're down 25 points. Game 3 of the playoffs. They're about to go down 2-1. Ultimately, You guys come back and win the game. You go on to win the series. I think ESPN has like those probability trackers. Have you ever seen these before?
Yeah.
And it said at one point in the third quarter, I'm sure that doesn't matter. 99.6% chance of losing that game. All right. So I'm curious, in the huddle, in that moment, you're down 25 points under 3 minutes. It's like, man, we're about to go down 2-1. Crowd's probably insane. What's that vibe like? What are you guys talking about? And then as the comeback starts to happen, what are you telling the team?
So the end result is
they win the game.
We win the game.
They win the series.
Go on to win the series.
I will say, working backwards, that team dinner afterwards was what just happened for sure.
Yeah.
So there was elements of like, did that really just happen? How do we, get over the hump? How do we pull this out? But I give the group, all the credit. I can't remember exactly everything I was saying. Stay the course, all the norm things that you say. But we just leaned into the next possession, the next opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, there were moments in that game, even being down 25, where I saw we were playing good basketball. We were doing what we set out to do.
Yeah.
It just wasn't going our
So
way.
that's not just
That's
coach
very
speak. It really is about the next possession.
It is about the next. I mean, because that's all you can control.
Yeah.
And even in that possession, you can only control so much.
You're right.
But I'm not big enough to look at the time, and we've got 15 minutes left, and this, that, or the other. It's like all season long, the way we had operated. Even with injuries, guys are in or out, or a losing streak. It's like the opportunity that's presented in front of us today, or this possession, is all that we need to care about. And one of my phrases was always, how are you going to impact winning? We're clearly losing right now. 99.6%. Well, there's still 0.4.
Right.
Let's grow that, and the tracker ended up getting to 100% in our favor, which was great. But it's like, how do you impact winning? So it was game strategy. It was just the culture dynamic, of the team, of just rallying with each other and next man up. If someone was struggling on the team, a guy putting his, arm around him saying, when you get your next opportunity. So that's how we'd operate all season long. It wasn't just because it was the playoffs and everything's magnified. They're like, God, now we got to start doing all this kind of like different things to just gin them up. It was, hey, we had been in this situation before. We had been in those situations even during the regular season against Minnesota. So we had, a little experience knowing that, hey, if we keep chipping away, I think we can break through. And over the course of 82 games, you face with that adversity all the time. But you got to play the full game. And I'm very big into that. I was always it's a one-day approach mentality. It's so easy to say, and coaches say it all the time, but that was our standard behavior and operating procedure. And even in the midst of a game that was going sideways, stick to our plan. Even if we had to make adjustments and schemes and all that stuff, one thing, but what's our mentality going to be? And that, I think, rose above.
You've coached a lot of great players, but probably the most prominent would be Ja Morant. A lot of people would know Ja Morant, and a lot of people would know, unfortunately, some of the issues that have come with Ja Morant. And so I thought, talking about adversity, I'd love to hear what the vibe was like when Ja gets suspended. For those that don't know, Ja Morant's a superstar. He's got a shoe. He's the best player on the team. He's kind of the leader. He goes on Instagram Live holding up a gun, gets suspended, does it again, gets suspended for 25 games to start the season. Headline, big news, really derailed a lot of momentum. What do you say to Ja? What do you say to the team? What's the interaction like in that kind of moment when the headlines are hitting?
Yeah, I've had a lot of time to reflect on that one for sure, because that was a tough moment.
Yeah, for sure.
And we can easily say it was a tough moment for me and for our team. It was a tough moment for Ja.
Totally.
And that's the way we got to look at it. And, as I've reflected on it, as I've had it in my head and my heart, it was like, I could have done better. I could have been there for him more in, probably a very tough, low moment. Because that second time happened in the summer. And we're not around the team, so everyone's off doing their own things during the summer. So even having those interactive touch points, face-to-face embraces wasn't there. I could have done more. I wish I had done more. I wish I had leaned into him more and just been there to support. Now, when I talk to other team members, when they reached out or I reached out, it was all, we have to be there to support. We got to put other things aside. What's going to come next? We didn't know about the suspension, this and that. It was a tough time for sure. But even when he and I got connected again, as the next season was rolling around, I told him I'm sorry. I needed to be there for you more. I wish I had done more for you. In that moment, reached out, let me just be someone that's just available to say I'm here. And whatever that capacity was going to be. And that's something that's motivating me moving forward, which hopefully is, strengthen our relationship, because we go through all kinds of different things just on the court. And that's just magnified. 48 minutes, that's the be all end all. Well, it's not. We have lives. And we've got to be there for each other. And that's a moment that, I look back on and say, I wish I had dug deeper with him.
Yeah. Wow.
Who told you about that? Did you get a text? Did you get a phone call? Did your general manager call you? Was it the league office? I mean,
Yeah,
how does that work?
It was text. I'm not going to share names, but it came out pretty quick. And then obviously in the world that we live in now, everybody just pull up and you see the videos.
We all saw it.
Yeah. So yeah, I got word pretty quick, and then it was kind of what I'm going to do. And I wish I had leaned in, as I said, more to just how can I help him, and don't worry about the rest of the world and everyone else, because someone right now needs the help more than anybody.
Okay, that's a great illustration for us as pastors to really lean into the person that's that's fallen, right? That's hurting. But then you also have an organization to lead. You have a staff. You have a whole another group of players. What's your role in those moments to settle everybody else? What did that look? What did those first 24 hours look like after that emergency situation?
Yeah, I mean, getting everyone together. I mean, there was a lot of things that were kind of out of my control for sure. That I wasn't privy to.
There's PR things you can't.
PR, league communications,
legal
so
stuff. Yeah, right.
For me, it was mostly my coaching staff and the rest of the team, the players, and I just wanted to be there to listen. And as I said, there's no script for this.
No. Is it kind of like a family meeting, like we're going to get together and we're going to sit?
Well, as I said, we were
one-on-ones.
It was one-on-ones, and I just reached out to connect to everyone and see what they were thinking, feeling, how they were processing in just real time. And slowly but surely over the course of the summer, we got to a point where it was all about support. It was all about, we are a team, we've got each other's back. That's a real thing. You're around it. I mean, it's in our world, it's a brotherhood. We got to have each other's back, and we're not going to always get along or see it the same way. It happens, but we got to have each other's back in those moments, and that was kind of how it unfolded.
That's cool. Can we talk about criticism for a moment?
Oh, you never get criticism.
No. Coaches never get criticism.
At all.
Pastors never get criticism.
Of course not. Not me and you, of course.
We deal with criticism, all of us. Just curious how you. It is an 82-game season, so it's probably maybe a little different. But after a loss, the criticism that you get, do you move on real fast? How do you is it?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and easier said than done.
Of course,
But I definitely try to block out criticism from the outside. Obviously even in wins there was criticism. Why you got lucky here, or, it worked out, and all that stuff.
There's always criticism.
And I take me at my word, hopefully, but I'm like, I'm already thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that stuff during the game. Why did I do this? I should have done that. After the game, after a win, after a loss, I'm already processing the game, thinking about the next talk with the team, the next meeting with the staff, the next practice, whatever the next day has. But I need the feedback. That's very important. I have a staff around me because I need them to help me get better. And I also am hopefully helping them develop. Just like me, when I was coming up in the ranks as an assistant coach, I'm there to serve the head coach, to serve the team. But as a head coach now, I got to embrace that, that same mentality. They're trying to help me. That was a flip for me, going from an assistant to a head coach for sure. But I need feedback. I need feedback from my coaching staff. And honestly, from our players.
Do you sit after a game and do a debrief?
Yep. Yeah, we usually do a debrief in the back.
Right after the game.
Yeah, right after the game, we always had a team meeting before we broke, and talk about the game, a quick recap. My fresh thoughts. Sometimes players would speak up too, just so we were all kind of on the same page. It was real time. And then, I would go to my coaching staff meetings before I talked to the media. And sometimes there were short meetings, sometimes there were long meetings. And then I had my opportunity at night, whether it was at home, late night, it was on the plane, it was on the bus, to start watching the game, to see what the truths of the game really were. We have all these ideas in our head.
It's like Wayne's sitting at home thinking about the service. Why did they do that? Why did they say it that way? Why did it go so long?
And I'm one that goes long for sure. So I heard that a lot from my assistant coaches. So, but I needed that feedback because that helped me process where I don't have all the answers. And I was very upfront with my staff and my team, my players. I don't want to have all the answers. I want to learn. I want to keep pursuing more from you all that have great extensive backgrounds and playing careers, coaching careers. That's going to only help me better, which is going to help the team get better. So that was just kind of my process. But when it came to criticism, we all say I'm my harshest critic and all that. I really am my harshest critic, because I know even when we win where I failed, and I always kind of work from that. There's always more to do as a leader to perfect your craft, but help prepare your team as a group and as individuals to be the best that they can be.
Yeah. One question I have written written down that I think is interesting is that one of the unique challenges we face as pastors is we make sometimes public decisions, but the basis of the decision was information that's more private or confidential. Like we can't tell everybody why we made the decision, but it was a decision that had to be made, and it may not be a very popular decision, but you have to make it. But you can't get up and share all the information. It's I think it's one of the toughest things that we have to do as leaders, and I'm sure you've had to do that as well. I mean, we just talked about the Jaws situation. How do you navigate those leadership moments where if you shared more, people would agree with you,
right?
But the fact that you're withholding information, people don't like the decision.
Yeah. Well, there's key stakeholders everywhere, right? In our profession, we need our fan support. We feed off of our fans, right? We feed off of our sponsors and relationships. How you can grow the organization, grow the team. But who are the day-to-day primary stakeholders that this decision is really going to impact their day-to-day, their job, our functioning, whatever it is. And it's tough. I mean, I appreciate you sharing. I can't even imagine what public decisions y'all have to make and how much information goes into making those decisions, that sometimes you can release some, and it's a delicate balance for sure.
Totally.
And again, as a leader, it's kind of like you're weighing both sides at the end of the day. And I'm always protective of, especially when it's sensitive information, it's only privy to a small group of people. Like, I got to protect that. That's a relationship, like that I have to protect. But I also know there's an external relationship that I have to give them and educate them on why information is being shared or not being shared. But this is why the decision is best for all key stakeholders, if that makes some sense. So that's a process, for sure. And you have to do it with a lot of lead time, and sometimes it's an immediate,
quick decision.
I got to go off this decision now. But hopefully with, our core leadership group, we were able to lean into each other a lot and have enough experience to be like, hey, this time, let's be patient in this one, let's act quick. Let's make sure we have all of our information before we go out there, and how much do we feel comfortable with, but what does this mean for the team? And then how can we still make sure everyone understands this is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
I have an interesting question for you that I've been thinking about since you've been talking. So your spirituality seems very integrated with your profession and everything. But what I'd like to know is, in high stakes competition, as a coach, sometimes you got to spaz on the people. You got to spaz.
We see some.
I don't know what was happening there, but sometimes there needs to be a little ratchetness, right? Like to get these guys to perform. But the question is, it's different when you're a Christian, right? So I don't know if it's like you spaz out there. Like, he be going to Life Church on Sundays, but serving kids life. But I heard about that. But have you ever had like insecurity about your faith when you had to just be very human and a very just in the moment? I said something, and I just had to go for it. Do you feel insecure? You're managing other egos, but you got to manage yours first, right? So talk to us a little bit about spazzing out.
You could have just said that, right? Without all the other commentary. Tell me about spazzing out. Well, I will say no insecurity, because I have no insecurity in my faith, for sure.
Wow.
But when it comes to those moments of spazzing out, for sure, I'm a sinner. I have to be open and honest about it. Am I always asking for forgiveness right afterwards? I'm like,
look at how it's resonating throughout
I think we can all agree on that.
Emotion is real. I mean,
we're all coaches in this room. I love it.
It's true.
But yeah, there are definitely moments where I'm more, I don't want to call it insecure, but regretful for use of profane language, or going too hard in a moment that I overstepped my bounds or something like that, whether it was with a player or a staff member, especially officials, as you said, high stakes competitive environments. But I'm always one to, when I go back and reflect, I got to do better. So the next time I'm interacting with a ref, I will apologize. Or I will ask God at night. I'll be like, man, I shouldn't have done that. We were talking before, I've gotten fined a couple of times, and maybe that was because I want to protect our team and I'm trying to make a statement and invoke maybe some change or draw some awareness to something, but that tool's not being used to take advantage of my faith whatsoever. But I definitely realize I've got to scale back at times. I'm far from perfect. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I'm far from perfect, but I'm striving to be better. And in those moments when I do spaz out, how can I still spaz out out of necessity or for purpose, for our team and protect them and all that, but do it in the right way. And that's something that I've gotten better at. We'll see what everyone listening to this podcast thinks. Like, oh, there he goes. He's covering up.
No, that was great.
Yeah.
That was great. One more question in the same vein. You have to manage a lot of egos, like people that are well paid, very, very talented. In our organizations, we're leading volunteers, but there's a lot of people that have egos that think that they have to do things a certain way and so on. How have you just been successful in managing really young talent that is celebrated often and managing an ego for success?
Yeah, I'm going to triple down, quadruple down on, relationships, for me. But, we as a team have a standard. And we have a culture. We have a team, and it was never me. Of course, all of my years of experience, I come in and I have a vision of what I would like to do as a head coach. I'm interviewing, and this is
you're reinforcing the
reinforcing
culture.
what I believe in.
Yeah.
But day one, when I step into the job, it's here's who I am. Here are the things that I believe in, and I can't wait to connect with you one-on-one to sit down and learn about what you believe in and how we can grow this together.
That's great.
I'm a leader, and I've got to set a tone for a standard. For us, it was compete together, get better. Well, how did that apply to players, the medical
Those are the
staff?
3 words: compete.
Compete together and get better. That's all I wanted our guys to focus on. Yes, the X's and O's, we got to figure out this, that, and the other. But day in and day out, I always brought everything back to how are we the most competitive team? Together. That's what I'm going to hold you accountable to.
Okay.
Do you agree with that? Tell me about your story. Tell me about your background. One-on-one, like when I first got the job, I was meeting with every department, obviously building a coaching staff, meeting with all the players, and as you said, young, some players that had been in the league for a couple of years, and just learning from them, and presenting what I thought our standard was going to be and getting, the cliche buy-in. We all want to buy in, but how do they have skin in the game? How do they have ownership? And that's what I tried to guide them through. Is we're not going to all be on the same page even year 1 or year 2. It's going to take time. But at the end of the day, for our team to flourish, everyone needs to own what we believe in.
Yeah.
Even though I was the one that brought it in, I got to spend time with everyone to see where the cracks are or see where someone's maybe not aligning with that and get the feedback. So I was very big on being, classic leadership, be a better listener than a talker.
Yeah.
And I can definitely talk.
So if you see somebody struggling, you're sitting down one-on-one
What's going on?
and saying, man, talk to me.
How can I help? How can I help? What are you not aligning with? How are you seeing it? And then maybe, even though our standards, in my opinion, never changed, I could maybe iterate a little bit differently. We could evolve, We're naturally evolving as human beings, the competition's evolving.
It's not necessarily compromising your culture, but adjusting to try to help them come along. Because Lionel Hollins was a part of our church for years as
Great
well,
guy.
who was also the head coach for the Grizzlies. And, we had several conversations, and he sort of made it sound like sometimes like he was a glorified babysitter, and that, the managing different situations, with players, and they were out all night, and, he'd have to sit down and say, come on, man. And they would say, oh, coach, that wasn't me. And he'd say, he'd say, listen, there's only one orange Rolls Royce in Memphis, and it's yours. And it was at that club at 4 o'clock in the morning, So I just, that would seem to be a pretty frustrating thing to have to do, but it just goes with the territory.
It goes with the territory, but as coaches, we're views at, you got to have the best X's and O's and draw up the right plays and develop player, all absolutely right. But how do you get a team to come together?
That's right.
That's where it all starts for me. Before I come and say, hey, this is what we're going to run on offense, this is what we're going to do on defense, this is, how we're going to develop you as a better shooter, better, defender, whatever it is. It's like, what do we believe in first? And that is then going to spill into how are we going to work? I always talked about how are we going to work together and how are we going to live together? Because we spend so much of our life on the road, away from our families, intimate moments. We're on planes, we're in locker rooms together, we're in highly competitive environments, which you didn't pass me the ball, Parker. Right. We have to get over that. But what is our standard? How do we correct from that? And then how do we go about working and living together and sharing those intimate moments? So
that's so good. A quick question about family life, because you have older children, but you have young children who go to school, and their dad's the coach of the Grizzlies, and people know about it, and kids are brutal, and so I wonder if you've ever had to manage that, where your son, your daughter got heard about something, or somebody said something to them because of a decision you made, or because of a game or a loss or anything like that. I mean, I think that's pretty real.
Yeah.
Even for pastors, our families are in a glass house, as it were, and our kids get different things come their way. And, so that's kind of the one side of family. I would love for you just to talk about that just for a moment, how to keep your kids along with this, because they didn't choose to become
very true
a coach.
Very true.
And so they're facing consequences based on the choice you made that is impacting their lives.
Yeah, I love how you frame that question, because I've been very lucky. I think our kids have been very lucky to have supportive friends. And, the great thing is I don't want my kids to grow up being, your dad is the head coach of a team. Your dad's your dad, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're Taylor's son, but that's who we are. Like, he's your dad. That's why I'm present at my kid's school as much as I can, even when I was working, volunteering or going to lunch and all that stuff.
Good.
So they can see the human side of that. And naturally, I mean, all these kids, they're wearing Grizzlies jerseys, and we had lost a tough one the other night and stuff, but, it never came up. So maybe it's kind of, the luck of the group that was around my kids.
That's fantastic.
And I do have to share, which was really special. Day I get fired, I have to pick up my kids from school. And I pick up my son, who's 11.
You didn't send somebody to go pick up your
No, I didn't send. I was back out. I was back out.
That's what Wayne would have done. Wayne would have
191%.
I was back in the world right then. I was like, I'm going to go pick up my son. I'm going to take him to go meet our daughter at her tennis lesson, and we're just going to keep doing our family thing. And I had to break the news to him. And I think he had maybe gotten word, but I had gotten several phone calls from teachers at that school. And that speaks to the environment of how they teach these boys, to become respectful, young men, and the outside world's this, that, and the other. And we deal with hardships and challenges that may, mess with your fandom or whatever it is. And they said, we're keeping an eye on your son. No one said anything. They're just going about their day. And if it comes up, we'll intervene, but it never did.
Man, that
which
makes
is
me want to
pretty
cry.
special.
I'm getting emotional over here.
It gave me confidence to go in and have a real heart-to-heart conversation, because who knows what God's got planned next. It's going to impact all of us, as you said. They didn't choose this life. We're choosing this life as, husband and wife, to lead our family as mom and dad along this pathway. So that was really special to me. We got lucky, and inevitably it may happen. But I know our kids, they understand the truth behind who dad is and what he does, and, to block out the outside noise.
Speaks a lot to you and who you are as a person. That's amazing.
Talk to us a little bit about your personal rhythms, or when you were leading staff. You have multiple staffs.
How big is the staff of an NBA team?
It's grown a lot, and when I say staff, it's not just coaching staff.
Sure.
I think our staff grew to myself plus 9 assistants. We had guys working in the video room, so ascending coaches. I mean, our staff was about 10 deep this past year there, so we're talking anywhere close to 20 coaches. Wow. We have a minor league staff as well, which I integrate in our coaching staff, off season, in season, as much as possible.
So big staff.
Big staff, our medical team, because the partnership in, player development, helping these players become great individually, but a part of the team, is shared amongst all different departments. So the touch points that our guys had was across the board.
And you're responsible for that staff.
Yeah. Well, I'm responsible for, I'm the head of, obviously, my coaching staff, but obviously as the head coach, I'm definitely partnering. I'm integrated everywhere, because I'm driving a lot of the decision-making, for sure, but I'm also not the expert in sports medicine.
It's such a good and I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
it's such a good correlation to what we do, Coach, because, we not only preach on a Sunday, but we have a staff that we manage, and we're responsible for budgets.
Yes.
And we're thinking about, kids or worship or
facilities.
Nowadays, sadly, there's legal issues that we're constantly. We have lawyers who are on retainer for church to advise us when we're facing difficult situations, and it's such a complex thing. It's literally like. People joke and say, what do you do during the week?
Yeah, one day
I know you preach on Sunday, but what do you do what do you do when your message is finished?
I'm like, what?
That's when I have to control my
your spazology.
Spaz out a little bit. But I just think this is a good. I talk to pastors all the time. They're like, I had no idea this is what it was about. Yes, this is what it's about. You do have to manage the complexity of a growing organization,
Right.
and you're called to that. It's
Right.
not just about preaching, and you need to preach well,
Right.
but you also need to be managing the day-to-day. And I think that's something that you would even think about when you look at a coach. You're not realizing, you're seeing a coach on the sideline coaching up the players
Right.
in a timeout. You're not realizing what goes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all the integration of all the different issues that happen. It's so...
That's what's fascinating to me is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
managing those multiple areas so that the team wins and that the organization wins. And there's a lot of pressure on doing that too. So anyways, I thought that was a very interesting thing because I watch, coaches, and there's a lot of pressure for about how long does a typical NBA game without overtime? It's about
A 48-minute game is about 2.5-ish, just under 2.5 hours.
and there's a lot of pressure during that time. How do you even manage your own emotions? Like if you're one day just not feeling your best either, but you still have to bring your best, which pastors, leaders, we all have to do that, where you're in an environment like, I don't feel like talking to nobody today, but I have to serve the
Wayne
Lord.
keeps bringing up these emotional questions. Have you noticed that?
Should we start asking him?
I think so. I think we need to...
asking you some questions.
I want to do an episode on
Spazzing
avoiding
out.
spazzology. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, tons of pressure for sure, right? I mean, there's a start of the game and end of the game. But what I've always leaned into is when I'm about to face those pressure moments, I remember, what got me here. Like, I love what I do.
Yeah.
Like, again, I was a junior in high school and I said, I want to be a teacher, a coach, and an advisor. Now I'm coaching in the best basketball league in the world with the best athletes, some of the best people in the world. I mean, this is unbelievable. Like, who would have thought? Well, God did.
Yep.
So I got to give, thanks, for every moment I have. Oh my gosh, like we just lost 5 in a row and all stuff. Well, God told me you're going to be a teacher and a coach and a leader of people. You're going to serve. You're going to go in. But I have to pray.
Yeah.
I think I told you guys in the back, Joshua 1:9. I literally, even in the games, I have a cross around my neck, and I'd be like, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And I'm like, he may be in with me when I'm about to call this timeout, or when I'm going to the back to answer questions in the media, or have to get on a player or a team, or I have to self-reflect, whatever it is. And I would say in my coaching journey, as the pressure has probably mounted just because of the job and my responsibility, I've leaned even more into my faith. And as you said at the very beginning, I've always been a big family man. Family is my everything. Beautiful. But I've leaned into that even more because that work-life balance that everyone strives for, the phrase I've always said is, in order for me to be the best coach, I have to be the best husband and father. It starts there.
So good.
But for me to be the best husband and father, I have to be the best coach. So it works both ways. This is the life God's given me. He's given me these skills you talk about all the time to go out. Like, we all have different skills in our lives to go serve and impact and be successful. Like, he gave you these skills. So, okay, well, he gave me skills to be a great coach, but number one to me is being a husband and father. So that dynamic together has always motivated me, so that we win a game, I'm humbled quickly by my family. We lose a game, I'm uplifted by my family. And through all that, my family, my faith is the thing that always just brings me back. So I don't ride the highs, or we were talking about mountains and valleys. And my faith, my family just keeps me right there every single time, no matter what comes ahead of me. And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
For sure. But when I have that moment, say Jesus. Say Joshua 1:9. Think about, what is my daughter got tomorrow after school? And forget about the game for 5 minutes. And when I come home and they don't care what the score was and they want me to tuck them in at night, I'm like, that's what matters. Because that's going to help prepare me to go be the best coach the next day.
So good.
So,
Fantastic.
One of the things that I think is fascinating about sports is the development versus winning. The tension that I think even pastors, we talk about this all the time. Like, you want to give young people opportunities, but you also want to keep things at an excellent, So how do you had a reputation for being a great developer. A lot of young players that developed well while you were the coach. How do you balance, any thoughts on balancing winning versus development?
Weren't the Grizzlies the youngest team at one point?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's. I will quote something I learned in San Antonio way back when, and it was actually when I was making my move into coaching, and I was going into the minor leagues. The mission of the minor league team, they were called the Austin Toros back in the day, is we are developing players with the expectation of winning. So they go hand in hand. The process is going to be the process, which I can elaborate on in a second, but it wasn't picking and choosing, hey, we're going development this year and that's it. Or we're going all in to win and we're not thinking about development
together,
like that.
in tandem.
Every day it was always about how are we building the standard, which I talked about, how are we building the work habits, right? The standard comes first, and then how we work and live together. Those behaviors have to drive winning at the end of the day. I mean, that's our profession. But we have to lean into the development of all those things to get to winning, in my opinion. But we're not going to just say, oh, winning, that's off in the distance 5 years from now, 10 years from now. When I got the job, you know, obviously we knew we were going through a remake of the roster, and we were going to have young players in that. And obviously we had success pretty quickly. Yeah. But to me, it was how we're going to approach every single day, whether it's the star player, the franchise player, you know, guys that are going to get more of the opportunity, or guys that are going to be maybe on the developmental track a little bit more, just from a pure opportunity standpoint. Everyone, whatever it is, whether it's in the game, practice, player development, film sessions, we as a staff are going to approach it as, I'm going to prepare you that when your moment is called to, again, impact winning, that's the driver of it. We're not just impacting your development, just focus on that. How is this development going to impact winning? And I think that sped up the process for us a little bit.
I love that.
But
that
is so excellent.
That's such a good connection to what we do. We're not just about development. We're going to
develop to win.
We want to win. I love that.
How did you know when to take a risk on a player? When did you know, like, is it just a gut feeling? Is it just...
Yeah, a lot of gut feeling, a lot of trial and error, for sure. You know, some risks don't always work out, and some do, and some happen by chance, for sure. But again, it's unique when you're the head coach that you've got a great pulse of everything that's going on. And it's not just players, taking a risk on staff members too, in other departments as well, or just organizationally for the team, like a reset of, you know, something that we're doing.
Any stories you have on taking a risk on a player? Any young person?
It could be anonymous.
Just any cool story would be great about
man, I've got a lot. I'm trying to have one that has a little humor behind it for sure. One that always sticks with me is my second season in Memphis. This was coming off the bubble, right? So I'm not having a lot of touch points with these guys. And the season's delayed. We're not starting in normal October. I think we started in December. We go through training camp. We have 2 games right before Christmas at home. And then we always took Christmas off, Christmas Eve if we could. And we played our first 2 games, and a player comes into the gym, and we're just having like a light walk through practice, but I could read right away. And this was one of our hardest playing guys, you know, super professional. Like, you know, we had our battles every now and then, and we were growing together. This was only our second season, the start of our second season together, and he wasn't feeling it. You know, he wasn't really engaging with the team. You know, he was, you know, taking the day off. And I was trying to unpack why, and I was like, well, I probably have a feeling why he may be taking it. He didn't have the night before. He didn't have the start to the season maybe that he was wanting just 2 games into the year. So I was like, you know what? I could let this ride. We have the holiday tomorrow. You know, like, he's got family in town. His daughter was with him, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going for it. Like, I'm feeling it, and that's one thing I've learned over this is, like, don't wait. If you have the opportunity to act, you just got to act. And again, as I said, it may not hit right away, but that's where years of experience goes. I know I'm going to hit right now, but I got to do it this way. And that's with little time to react. So we went down to my office, and again, what's going on? Like, let me hear. Like, spill it to me. And we're talking, and let's just say I went to level 10.
You did.
Right off. And it was kind of one of those, like, I heard what you were saying, but I have kind of my prescribed what I want to hit you on. Luckily, it kind of was meshed together because what was shared was very much in line with, we just saw it differently. And we're going at it and at it and at it and at it. And at the very end, I was like, okay, I'm going too long. I gotta end this here. And I was like, that's it. I want you to have a great Christmas tomorrow. Merry Christmas. Have fun with your daughter. And we hugged. And the next thing you know, dude had such a huge impact on us, but I didn't leave it just at the door there. Christmas goes by, come back the next day. We kind of have that, you know, uncomfortable.
He had a huge impact on the season?
Huge impact on the season, and for years. And, you know, put my hug on him, we had a laugh. But I'd built up that opportunity to take that risk because it wasn't, I'm just going to throw this dart up on there and hope it sticks without having built up a little friction over time, but growth through that and trust and relationship. And that wasn't the last time that we had to have some moments, but he hopefully, and hopefully I knew, is like, he's gonna have my back, I'm gonna have his back, and we're gonna have to do it our way. And his risk may be a little bit different than someone else that I have to go, you know, risk style with or spaz style with. You know?
I think sometimes pastors feel they have to be more like, you know, spiritual and almost even passive. And it's just not a good, first of all, it's not, I hate the word passive, and it's not a good look when a leader is passive because, you know, not a lot of good things happen when that's the case. That's a good lesson of, I'm going to confront this, I'm going after this, you've got more potential on the inside, and you're not acting out based on what's inside.
And I would
of you.
say probably like in the moment, I was again taking the risk, spazzing,
Of course,
having to.
You could have
address
lost him,
this
right? He could have. He could have even regressed.
It could have
even
spiraled up
further.
with that holiday. Who knows what he was going to be thinking? I was like, I'm going for it now. But something that I've said, and I've leaned into this a lot now, is like, keep it simple. Like we overthink things so much. I mean, there's so many demands and pressures and that.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like what I mentioned earlier. I think to you, Wayne, was care, authenticity, and consistency.
Good.
Yep.
Well, in that moment, previously we had built up a relationship. I'm gonna consistently do this. I saw something, I'm gonna address it. I'm gonna be authentic. I'm gonna tell you the real thing that I've told you before, and it's happened again. We're gonna address it, and I've given you the opportunity to be authentic with me as well. But deep down inside, it's because I care about you, and I care about your role with this team, and
So
this team
good.
needs you and all that stuff. And it may not, when you walk out that door, go, that is what Coach was trying to accomplish. I'm not giving them that spiel saying, okay, Coach is doing the care thing and the authenticity
No,
thing. and the
right,
consistency.
right.
No, I'm not doing that.
No, you're in.
But that's my go-to.
Yeah.
How am I going to handle,
Yeah.
compete together, get better? Keep it simple. How am I going to care, authenticity, and consistency? Just keep it to that.
Good.
And that'll help drive my
Leadership.
decision-making. Yeah.
So good.
Maybe as we wrap up, I could give you a few rapid-fire fun
Yes.
questions.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
right.
We like this.
Okay.
Do I have a shot clock?
Yeah, 24 seconds per question. So you travel a lot. What's your favorite NBA city to travel to?
Favorite NBA city? Well, I'm biased because I'm from Dallas, so
Yeah,
Dallas
yeah.
for sure. But one that's really grown on me, I love Toronto. I love Toronto. I love Europe. It's got the European vibe there.
Did he say
Great
U.S.?
food,
No, you
great
didn't say
culture.
U.S. city. You said NBA city.
He said NBA
NBA,
city.
yeah.
He said NBA
Yeah,
city.
yeah. We love the world.
Toronto.
Right. Oh, you do.
What's
You
wrong
wanted
with
New York? Is that what you're
Of
hoping
course.
for?
New York's up there, Chicago's up there, but I like throwing the Toronto twist.
Yeah,
in.
that's cool. Maybe an underrated player, most underrated player you've coached that maybe didn't get a lot of accolades or attention, but you thought, man, they better than most people give them credit for. Anybody come to mind?
Dylan
Yeah.
Brooks.
Dylan Brooks.
No, I'm kidding.
No, seriously. From my Memphis time, he had a huge impact.
I love that guy.
And I love the fact that now you see the recognition he's getting.
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
He's
all
crushing it.
defensive guy. I mean, I always talk about it's one of the most selfless things in the NBA to care about defense. And him and Jaren Jackson Jr., those guys cared about defense because they knew how much it meant and how selfless that was.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to score and get the
Yeah,
highlights that. But for him to get the recognition of how much he's grown as a player, to see his growth here in Memphis, and the business is the business,
Sure.
but what he does to go impact in Houston for
Yeah.
2 years, and he's already doing it in Phoenix. A lot of things said about him. Maybe
yeah,
not the
totally.
most positive. That dude was a driver of our success and our
Wow.
culture.
That's awesome.
He was the enforcer too.
Yep.
What's the favorite win of your career so far?
Ooh, favorite win of my career. I'm gonna say pretty cool. Our first playoffs, I think it was 2021, we had a play-in game.
Yeah.
We had just won against San Antonio at home, but we had to go out to Golden State,
State,
and we had
yep.
just played them at the end of the regular season and lost the last game. We flew out there for one game, had to come back, play San Antonio. I'm playing Pop, I'm playing San Antonio
Yeah.
where I started, so there was all that weighing on me too
Yeah.
to get over that, and then we go back out to Golden State. You got Steph, you got Draymond, Clay, unfortunately was hurt. But I mean, what a dynasty.
Yeah.
And we pulled it out. And we had just lost to them less than 7 days before. And this
Yeah.
was to make the playoffs in only our second season.
Wow.
And the celebration, I think you talked about, we were like the youngest team in a really long time
Yeah.
to make the playoffs. I was so happy with the journey we had because we were still impacted by COVID all year long and getting tested. And we were shut down for 5 games because we had contact tracing. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But to have that moment in time was like the real kickoff for
Yeah.
where we ended up going the next couple of seasons.
That was one of my favorite wins to watch.
Yeah, that was a
That's
great
good
one.
What's first thing you do after a big win? What's what's your go-to kind of? What do you do?
I'm probably crazy. I'm already thinking about what I'm going to tell the team, how
Yeah.
we're going to be focused on again, what the schedule is the next day. I'm always, especially one of the phrases to me is be humble in victory.
Yeah.
And that was embedded in me when I started in San Antonio. Obviously being a good sport, we try to teach our kids that.
Sure.
But yeah, we want to feel well. We always say it, anytime you get a win in the NBA, it's the quality of life victory, right? You feel good, it's going good and all that stuff, but realize there's still so many things we've got to correct.
Yeah.
So I always kept to, like, how am I teaching these guys, even obviously in a loss, there's so much you can clean up, but in a win, how are we humble in victory and how are we sticking to our plan and sticking to what we believe in?
That's great.
Enjoy it quickly. We should celebrate that, but we're right back on what our day-to-day is.
That's good. What's something you think most people don't know about coaching in the NBA? the average person wouldn't ever know? I'm sure there's a lot.
There's a lot of different things, and some probably know it, some may not, and all that. I think Pastor John, you said something similar. It's like the life that we live is very unique. And now being on the outside, so to speak, and I'm watching it on TV and stuff, I'm like, that 2.5 hour block is only a small sample size of everything that goes on. Yes, of course a coach has got to work with the medical team and the front office and ownership, and he does media, and they practice and they fly on all these planes and have crazy hours. Great. But we also have a life outside of basketball.
Yeah.
We're not, and that was also another thing I learned early on, which hopefully kept me focused on what really mattered in life, was I am more than a basketball coach. I am more than a basketball coach. Husband, father, brother, son, grandson, member of a community, member of a church, man of God, like that's what I want to be.
That's great.
I just happen to have the tools to be a basketball coach. How can I use all those other things to be the best coach? Like I said, be the best coach, to be the best everything else in my life. If I'm great everywhere else, then I can be the best coach.
Love that.
What's the toughest arena you coached in? Like, what's the hardest road environment you think?
Oh, man. I would say, can I give you two?
Yeah.
Can I give you two? When Golden State was rocking at Oracle, when they had their dynasty going, it was insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the fan support, the electricity in there, obviously the talent, you knew what you were going up against. But that's why I said earlier, like how fans have an impact on the game, that stuff is legit a real thing.
Wow.
Home court advantage is a legit thing because all the arenas are built differently. You can talk about elevation in Denver or Utah and all that stuff. But I will say outside of just that little era, consistently year after year, going to Boston is intense. So much history there.
We got a couple Boston people.
We got a location.
Let's just say sitting on the back row my first couple years in the NBA and just hearing the talk, not just to the players, but even to me, because when I was standing up telling the coach to do something, I was getting spazzed on. What is going on? I'm getting distracted. We're trying to win a game here in the playoffs, and great teams and stuff. But so much history there. But the fans, they rock with their team. They know it. They're knowledgeable. They're passionate, and they bring it every game.
That's cool.
Wow.
One thing fans think coaches control, but you actually don't.
That we don't control if the ball goes in or out of the net. It's like, we would joke sometimes. It's like, man, I can do everything possible. I'm going to get you to the rim. I'm going to get you that open shot. I'm going to prevent that other team from getting the open shot. But I can't put the ball in. I can't take the ball out. So we joke about that just to kind of keep us focused on do everything possible. But then there's so much luck involved in the game of life, but especially the game of basketball.
That's so true.
Great.
If you weren't a coach, what other career path do you think you would be taking?
Do you want two, or do you want the cheesy? I'd be a coach, which I've said several times. I mean, I would love to coach, anywhere, any sport, teach, coach. That's what I'm destined, but I've gotten asked that question several times. So like, okay, stop using that one. Maybe it's a hobby I want to get into. I want to be a bass guitarist.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe it may perfect my craft, and I'm playing in the back and all that stuff. I love the beat,
one right over
so,
here.
I don't know. Sharing music, worship, right? I said it pulled me in here. So shout out to the bass player. You got me.
That's
He'll
awesome.
show you some things after.
Yeah. Okay, so what's next for you? As much as you can say about what's next.
What's next for me? It's all in God's hands. It truly is. I start there. Naturally, I'm going to be thinking about it. My wife and I are talking about it. We've started talking with our kids a little bit about what is inevitably going to happen. There's going to be change in our life. There already has been change in our life. But every day, I always, when I pray to God, I always say, speak to me, and I will listen, guide me, and I will follow. So whether it's, coming here and receiving the word from you, Pastor John, your team, but also people I'm connected with, people I know that are strong in their faith. I hear God through them. I hear God through the music I play in my radio.
Right.
Christian rock, Leland, unbelievable.
Right.
Like, I'm hearing what my plan is going to be. It's going to reveal itself for me. So I hope it's coaching. What level, what team, where, this, that, and the other, when, all that stuff, I can't decide. But I love it. It's been great to me and my family. My family's been beyond supportive. My wife encourages me, saying I've got more to give. So when I even get that extra vote, like I've got more to give, and it's not just what I can do in basketball, but what I can do in our community. And the lives that I'll be working with, staff and players, impacting lives. You can do it a lot of different ways, and hopefully coaching is a part of that. And, my agent and I talk, and I've got some idea, but I don't think anything will really come to light maybe for 2 months. But I got to get ready because it can come quick.
Yep.
It's a trade deadline, trade deadline week right now. You want to leak anything or give us any insight on anything?
I'm following all the clicks and all that stuff too.
Do you get calls from other coaches?
I've gotten calls
about like how's
former
this guy,
players and it's intel's a big thing. Information sharing, how true you never know, and you lean into authentic relationships so you know the sources and all that. But we would always say, I mean, it's a crazy time because again, like when you said, what's something that people don't know about coaches in NBA? These, Jaren Jackson, very close to him. He just got traded.
Right.
His life is getting uprooted and changed, and he's going to be
Where did he
beyond
get traded
successful.
to?
Utah. But the fact that happens in the middle of the season, kids in school, not in school, wherever you're at in your life, it's changed, and he's built for it. He's going to be great. I mean, he's an unbelievable human being.
That's a hard one for Memphis, I think.
Losing he made a huge impact here, and again, not just on the basketball floor, but in this community.
Yeah, it's true.
But a lot of times there's all kinds of stuff out there, and 95%, 99% of it doesn't happen. Speculation of that. So, but again, we're suckers for it. We get in. What's going on? But as coaches, at least we can go. We're just going to show up and coach and teach. We'll let the rest take care of itself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a part
thank
of
you guys.
Make Room and the podcast. Can we clap our hands for Coach Taylor Jenkins?
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
And thank you for listening today to the podcast. If you heard anything that helped you or inspired you, go ahead and share it with a friend, and we'll see you next time.
Yes.
And that's it.
Can we do something real quick before we finish? Just stretch our hands toward Coach and pray over Coach, because he is getting calls. We're off the air now, but he is getting calls. There are going to be opportunities, and we will see you somewhere soon. And we know God's going to use you to do as He has here. It'll be bittersweet for us, unless there's some kind of miracle that happens here and you're able to stay. But it will be bittersweet for us. We'll be happy to see what God does in your life. And thank you, not only for this time, but the time you've invested in our church and the kingdom. So stretch your hands toward this coach and father and husband. Father, thank you for Coach Jenkins and the deposit he's made today. Lord, we know you're going to open the right door for him, and he'll have the wisdom that he needs to step through it. Thank you for blessing him and even rewarding the time that he spent with us today. Lord, we're thankful for it in Jesus' name. And everybody said amen. Amen.
Awesome. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back with Pastor Dino.
10 minutes.